morning for those who are following us through the website as well, through the Facebook. So thanks everyone for coming here today. It's a pleasure to have everyone here. And today we're going to talk, watch a talk about thoughts and mediumship that will be given by our friend Teresa. And our initial reading is going to be done by Mateus, and our initial prayer by Declay. Thank you.
I'm going to be reading Happy Life by Givaldo Franco and Joanna Gentile. You need serenity every step of the way. Serenity to discern, act, and live. Life gallops ahead and changes scenery every minute, requiring permanent serenity as not to smash people. The person who gets upset and tries to match the cyclopean speed of these days will snap because he is going from one situation to another very fast, without even time to adapt to the previous phase. New comes and event pass, producing immense emotional, mental, and physical wear and tear. Protect yourself with serenity, preserving the equipment of your existence which was designed for use but not for abuse.
Thank you, Mateus. So let us all close our eyes and calm our minds and our hearts. Bring ourselves to the present moments, to these very brief moments, that we all remind ourselves of our immortality, of our nature. Let us connect with God, our beloved Master Jesus, the good spirits here present, our protector spirits, our guardian angels, who are constantly assisting us anonymously and very often inspiring us to gather together here in our beloved Toronto Spirit Society or in our homes, wherever we are. Let us make an effort to open our hearts and absorb the lessons, absorb the positive energies, and all the assistance that we receive while we are here during the lecture. We also ask the good spirits and God to bless all of those who were not able to join us today, our family members who may be at home or far away, and also those who may be here among us in the spirit realm. All of our brothers and sisters also discarnated who are present in our meetings, may they be blessed. And finally, we ask to our sister Teresa, may the good spirits inspire her mind and her heart to share with us the outcome of her studies in a way that we can all take something back home to apply in ourselves and to be a better person, professional, friend, family member, anywhere, anytime. Thank you, and so be it. Teresa?
All right. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It's always good to be back in here. So the theme today is thought and mediumship. And to be talking about this theme today, I'm going to be mainly using 3 books today. It was working. So we're going to be using In the Realms of Mediumship, the Spirit's book, and Missionaries of Light. Okay, I don't have the Missionaries of Light, but Spirit's book, and In the Realms of Mediumship. If depending on which edition you have, it may be translated as In the Domain of Mediumship, and it's exactly the same book. Okay, so In the Realm or In the Domain of Mediumship is actually exactly the same book. Okay. So we're going to start using the book In the Realms of Mediumship.
So in that book, Andrea Luiz is following the benefactor called Aulus. And on chapter 13, they are at a mediumistic group. And the mediumistic group is coming to the end. And it's the part where they're waiting for a message from the benefactor. So it's very common in the mediumistic groups, after you have done the fraternal help to the less evolved spirits, it's at the end. Always wait to see if there's any message from the benefactors, and that's the point where they are in the mediumistic group. And at this point, Andrea Luiz noticed that the benefactor, so it's a more evolved spirit in the spiritual realm, comes and connects with Selena. But he connects with her in a very perfect way. Like, there's so much harmony in the way that him and Selena attach to each other, that Andrea Luiz gets amazed by what he's seeing. So Aulus explains to him that it is not working.
Well,
Can you change it for me, please? Okay. So he explained to him that the reason he was able to have this connection with her is because the spirit mentor found in her brain cells and nervous system energy akin to the well-tuned keys of harmonious piano. So what that means? It means that the benefactor just come to any of the medium there and just connect and then go. Wherever he's connecting to has to be able to tune with him. And it's a perfect analogy that he talks about the keys of the piano. So let's say if I decide to start to learn piano tomorrow, okay? Someone gives me a piano, and let's say if this piano is not like 100% well tuned. It's tuned enough. It's not really, really well tuned. I'm gonna play. I know nothing about piano, and for my level of knowledge of piano, I'm gonna play and think, oh, this piano sounds beautiful. It's perfect. For me, for my level, I'm gonna play and I'll see no difference, okay? But if I bring someone who has been learning piano now for 10 years, they're gonna sit in the piano, and the first key that they're gonna say, something's wrong here. Like, this piano is not tuned enough to play to the level that I'm used to play. Something is wrong here, right? And if I bring a guy who's super professional, famous piano player, never, as soon as he puts his hands on that piano, you're gonna say, this is a craft piano. I will never play in it. There's no way that with this piano, I can pass to the people the sounds and the music the way I feel, because this piano is completely off tune. Although to me, it was tuning off. It's like, actually sounds so beautiful, I thought, right? So depending on who's playing the piano may be tuning off, maybe, yeah, okay, but it is a little bit off tune. Or can say, I just cannot use this piano. Okay, so that's exactly what the spiritual mentor is trying to say here. That if you really want to be connected with more evolved spirits, we need to be better tuned pianos. Because otherwise, the only person that's going to be able to use as a piano is someone that's vibrating just like us, right? So the less tuned is my piano, I am as a piano, the less evolved spirits are the only ones that are going to be able to connect with me and actually play through me, right? Or send messages through me in this case. So this is a very perfect analogy, I think, that he does with the piano. So the mentor now is connected with the Selena, and he starts to bring a message. And the message that he's bringing to that group of that day is actually about thought and mediumship. And that's actually exactly the name of the chapter 13 of the book, Thought and Mediumship. So he starts to explain why is the importance of us improving our thoughts, right? What's the consequence? What happens when? So what I'm bringing today, it's a long, because the whole chapter is the message from the benefactor, and there's so many important keys that he brings in, concepts that he brings in there. So I took some of them, okay? So I'm just taking a few key points that he brings in, and trying to bring a little bit more enlightenment to all of us, including myself. To be honest, I finished the preparing the lecture, and I said, okay, this is all talking about changing our thoughts. I mean, I can barely change my own, right? So maybe I should once I go home, I will go to the YouTube channel and watch my lecture like 5, 10 times to see if I learned something, or if I change something from on myself. Okay. So one of the first things that he says, with regard to mediumship, let us not overlook our thoughts. Our soul lives where the mind is. So when we're talking about mediumship, and of course here he's talking to a mediumistic group, so he's talking about ostensive mediumship. For me to be a medium is not just enough for me to have this capacity or the sensibility that I can actually communicate, that I can actually receive the message. Yeah, this is to be a medium, yeah, this is to be a medium. But that's not enough, right? When we're thinking about mediumship, we really need to go to an extra level. We really need to think about how are we thinking. Because our soul lives where the mind is. Because actually, I would change that phrase for we are what we think. Because that is exactly what makes us different separates us from the animals. Is the capacity that we can think. I can think, I can create, I can rationalize. Because if you didn't have this capacity of thinking, literally, we're animals. We're pure animals. We live by instinct. I eat because I feel hungry. I go to the washroom because my butt tells I am. That's what we are. We're animals. We know better than any other animal in the nature. So who we are is exactly what we think. Our thoughts makes who we are, right? Our thoughts will dictate our actions. So in the end, the soul is the mind is because actually we as the spirits are what we think. What we think is what it dictates what we feel, how we act. So in some ways, even though the benefactor is talking about ostensive mediumship, which I think probably most of us here are not. I'm not ostensive mediumship. We can easily get every single lesson that he brings through the whole message to all of us, right? Because as Kardec said, we're all mediums. So we all have the capacity of being in connection with the spiritual world, right? We all are. We all being constantly being influenced by them. But there is a point that we always forget, because I always remember, we always think like this, okay, so I'm incarnated, and I'm being influenced by all the spirits around me, right? True, very true. But we always forget that there's the other side. We are spirits as well, incarnated, but we are spirits. So can't we influence on discarnated spirits as well? By the way that we think, by the way that we act? Absolutely. So in the end, what we're living here is an experience that as incarnated spirits, we can influence incarnated people around us. We can influence spirits around us. We can have spirits, discarnated spirits influencing discarnated spirits. We can have discarnated spirits influencing us here, incarnated spirits. So we all influencing each other here. We all in contact with each other. So in the end, we're all mediums. So the way I think, it's important because that will dictate first who I am. And then who I am is going to dictate what I'm going to spread around me to the incarnated and to the discarnated. Who I'm going to connect it here in this incarnated world and who I'm going to connect with the discarnated realms. So again, so even though this is about mediumship, when this benefactor is giving all this lecture, this message is it's all about pretty much he's aiming the group, the mediumistic group. But the truth is, those lessons are for all of us, because we are mediums, and we have the capacity to influence each other. And in fact, at some point we're going to talk about the Spirit's book, and every time I read the question that we're going to talk about, I always keep questioning, who's the obsessor here? Us or them? I always question myself on that one. Okay. So one thing that he brings to us, so one of the other key points that he brings to us, he says, in the realms of a spirit, there is no neutral grounds. So there's only two states for us as spirit, regardless if you're here incarnated or if you're discarnated. It's either we're evolving, so we're in the path of evolution, slowly but surely going, okay? So either we are in the path of evolution, no matter how slow we're going, a little bit fast, or we're stagnated. So there's no regression. Regression, there's no such a thing in God's laws. There's a law of progression, right? But there's no regression. So either we are evolving, or we are stagnated. There's no other two. There's no middle. It's no, you know what? I'm not evolved, but I'm also not getting stagnated. So I'm like, no, I'm just no. The moment that you thought you're just here, neutral, no, you're actually stagnated. That's where you are. Being neutral means you're stagnated. So those are the only two. There's no middle way where I'm not evolved, but I'm also there's no. It's either one or the other. So either we're following God's designs, which is the law of progression, and keep going, or we're stuck in the self, right? Because what makes us to be stuck is actually to live on the self, where I take God out of the command, he's not in command anymore, and I put myself in there. So I live this completely selfish life where it's all about what's good for me. I now don't care for the others, or I'm just caring for my ambitions. I only care for, what's good for me, and I want to have party, and I'm completely attached to this materialistic life and think that's it, There's only one life, and I want to enjoy it as much as I can, and I really don't care for anybody around me. And that's right there, we're stagnated. So to just incarnate and discarnate is not enough. It's not enough. And actually, Emmanuel, in one of his messages from the collection Live Spring, he says, how many of us don't come through the door of incarnation or reincarnation and leave the door of discarnation exactly the same? Many, many times. With one difference. You're the same, you start in here, you end in here, you are exactly the same. So as a moral person, exactly the same, but now you have an extra debt because you wasted a reincarnation. I'm going to come back, same person, with a higher debt. And then I start again, and then I end, and I'm exactly the same. Well, now I'm the same person, but with a higher debt. And then how many times you probably have done that? Because we like to say that, I'm the best version that I have ever been, right? It's true. Today, we all here are the best version of ourselves that we have ever been. When we look to the long run as a spirits from the time we start, it's true. Today, we are our best version. But for how long maybe I have been this same best version? Maybe that's my best version for 3 incarnations and I didn't improve anything. I'm stagnated, right? So that's what we need to be aware. That just being this process of incarnation, disincarnation, does not necessarily make us a better person. Does not necessarily mean that we are evolving, right? And we can even have spirits on the spiritual realm, and we see this in the book Heaven and Hell, and books from Andrea Luiz, spirits that are frozen in the same state in the spiritual realm for 300 years, 500 years, 1,000 years. They're there in completely darkness, frozen on their own thoughts and ideas, and they stay there. And we can. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. What's 3,000 years? We are infinite. We are immortal. It's nothing, right? And we are going to be frozen and stagnated for as long as we choose, right? So for as long as we don't want to change who we are, we don't want to change our thoughts, we don't want to vibrate a little bit higher, we're going to be stagnated. Right? Because that's the only other option. So it's either we're progressing slowly, and I like to believe that just the fact that we're here today, we are actually on this path of evolution slowly. Because at least we try to learn a little bit more. We try to understand so we can evolve and even understand why our thoughts are so important and everything. So I like to believe that we're all here improving ourselves a little bit. And nobody's asking like big steps on each incarnation at all. Small ones. Little things that we change. Each incarnation has to be a little bit of a change. We don't need to be at the end of it and it's completely transformed, like, Paul of Tarsus transformation. Like, we don't. You're not even spiritual, not even that level, right? Nobody needs to be a Mother Teresa at the end of reincarnation. Nobody needs to be a Sheikh Xavier at the end of reincarnation. That's not what the spiritual plan is asking of us. That's not even what Jesus is expecting of us. He knows exactly what our capacities are. He knows exactly how much you can progress on each incarnation. He knows that we all can do a little bit. We all have this capacity. So we need really to be aware of this, right? Because especially as a spiritist who believe in incarnation and reincarnation and know that incarnation and reincarnation is here to help us to improve, sometimes we can easily get caught on this idea that just because I'm here coming and going, that's enough for me to be progressing. Not really, right? There is no progress unless there is inner transformation. And that's what he says here, right? So our thoughts will dictate who we are, right? But also will dictate who's going to be around us. So he says a conscience that is heavy with evil purpose, covered with remorse, filled with unrestrained ambitions, or darkened with afflictions, cannot help but attract similar force that chain it to infernal turmoil. So if my thoughts are always thoughts of envies, jealousy, vanity, I'm always angry. If I have this revenge I've gone against someone like for years, I have this bad feelings that I'm carrying, that's why I'm going to be. Do you think that someone's always carrying angry thoughts is going to be sweet with people around them? Oh, I carry my angry thoughts, but I'm always nice to everybody around me. No, I'm not. Most of I'm going to be the person who's always snapping, who's always angry, that if someone just, this one little thing that I don't like I'll just jump on their throats, right? Because we are what we think. So if I'm always carrying bad thoughts inside me, that's who I become. And the pain is coming from my own thoughts, becomes from who I create. Because I'm the first one who's going to carry all the negativity. It's me, before I even give to other people. If I'm someone that's only worried about what's good for me, very selfish and self-centered, what are the chances of me trying to look around and see if someone needs help? Very minimum, not a chance. And the more self-centered I am, the less the chance of me looking around and look for help. Or even when someone actually comes to, first I won't look around at all, that's for sure. And the chance of me help when someone actually comes and asks for help also is probably small. Well, I'm probably gonna look, see on my calendar, let's see if it's convenient for me. Oh, it's not convenient for me, sorry, like that. What's in it for me? Oh, there's nothing. Oh, you never help me, why am I gonna help you? Right? Or, you know what? Your position in the company, there's nothing you can get from me, so I'm not gonna help. I'm gonna help this guy, because this guy actually can get me a better position in the company, so him I'm gonna help it. But you do nothing for me. So I only do things when it's convenient for me, right? Because that's where my thoughts is, that's where my mind is. So consequently, that's who I am. The problem is that when we keep our thoughts in that level, that's exactly what we're going to attract around us. Incarnated and discarnated, right? And that's exactly what the Spirit's book brings to us. So in the Spirit's book, part 2, chapter 9, talks exactly about this. What's the influence of the spiritual realm into our lives, right? And right from the beginning, the Spirits tell Kardec they're actually way higher than you can possibly imagine, right? Always around you, they're always trying to influence you. The less evolved and the good spirits, right? But on question 466, Kardec asks, but why God permits for those spirits to come and bug us, right? Why they allow them to come and give us the intuition to do wrong things? And the answer is that imperfect spirits are meant as instruments for testing the faith and constancy of individuals in the practice of the good. So basically, God uses them as instrument for trials. not for expiations, trials, right? There's a difference between trial and expiation. So trial is a test that I need to do with you, that God always does with us to help us to grow. So to test ourselves, to test, I'm really patient. Yeah, probably I'm patient until someone does something that I don't like it. I'm always grateful and happy, yes, well, everything is going right. But when my family member is in the ICU, or my bills are not paid, can I be that grateful as well? So that's why the trials comes for us to learn, for us to test ourselves. Expiation is the consequence of my own actions. That's different. That's something that I did wrong, and now I have to fix it. So there's a difference between trials and expiation. So God basically used, because nothing is lost in nature, and God gets something positive of everything, right? To me, always amazes me how everything's so perfect in His creation. So He lets them to come to test us. Do you really have faith? Do you really have that honesty, or know the characteristics of your personality are really what they are? Like, are you really honest? Right? You see the money and there's like, no, I'm not going to take. But then it comes, if I was you, I would take all you would. Oh, God, so then you will. 5 seconds ago, I was this honest person, but then just because someone can say, oh, I would take it, and then I'm taking. Clearly, I am actually not that honest, right? Because I don't need much influence from me to change. And then I can say, oh, but someone told me, no, it wasn't me. The truth is, I wanted to take it. But I was trying to hold myself, but then I just need a little bit of influence from incarnator or discarnator, and then I do, right? I get that email that I want to send to that coworker that did something to me, and I write everything there. And I really wanted to send it, but I hold myself. And then someone comes, and the other coworker comes, oh, if I was you, I would send it, because, oh, this person deserves it. That's not the first time that they do it. And I said, you know what, that's true. And then you press send, right? And then it's, oh, but someone will influence. No, the truth is, right from the beginning, I was dying to send it, right? I was so in me. The only person this person did was pick up my energy and reinforce it. But the truth is also that, because in the end, if I really didn't have it in me, no matter who would come to say, if I was to say, you know what, I think I'm gonna sit on this 24, because that's the rule. You sit until the next day, and the next day you read again, and if you think you still need to send, and you send, or maybe you change some words and be in a more polite way, and then you send it, right? So that's what He does. That's why He allows them to come and kind of poke us, right? To see. But why really I brought this question is because it's not because of this part. It's actually the second part of the answer. So He says, yes, God allows them to come and kind of test you and everything. He says, however, it's not them that come to poke you. It's actually you who call them. Right? Because we have this image. That's how we have our image here. Even as a Spiritist, that's the image I have. Me, Teresa, I was sitting there, having my nice thoughts, having my cup of tea, very elevated thoughts, minding my own business, such a nice person, minding my own business there, reading the Spirit's book, how enlightened, right? And then this less evolved spirit, who had nothing better to do, randomly decided to say, I'm going to pick on her. Oh, I'm going to attack her. It's going to be right now. And then he goes, and I was there. Such a nice person. And then he chose me, I don't even know why. It has to be randomly. And comes and starts, oh, stop reading the book. And starts to put all those ideas in my mind. That's how we see. Right? That's how we see. What the Spirit's saying here is actually that's not how it is. It says, first of all, the Spirit just came to you because you called it. So basically, the real picture is this. Me, Teresa, was there thinking, I can't believe the person did that, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just ruminating, and I'm ruminating these negative thoughts. It could be thoughts of, because I'm angry at someone. It could be thoughts of sadness. because I'm just, super sad because something really bad happened with me, and thoughts of hopeless, and how I'm victimizing myself, and oh my gosh, my life, and nobody suffers like me, and it could be thoughts of, how I'm gonna get this money in my pocket, I need to find a way to get rid of my business partner, and take all the money, and like it could be any negative thought you could have. It could be jealousy, it could be anything. So I'm there and I'm ruminating and I'm creating this magnetic field around me, this negative magnetic field around me. And then there's a less evolved spirit who is passing by and saying, oh, wait a second, someone's calling me. Oh, someone's calling me. And this is everything attractive. There's someone here that vibrates just like me. That's perfect, because that's what I've been looking the whole day. And then they come say, hey, buddy, hey, best friend, how are you doing? Yeah. Oh, so you think like, you're right. You should think like that. And so that's exactly what the Spirit says, right? So they don't come randomly. We call them. And how we call them? By our thoughts. How we think, who we are, right? That's the real scenario, okay? So no, we're not angels and we're not victims, when we have some obsessor around us or have some spirit influencing us to do something bad. We're not angels. We call them, okay? So that's the process. They don't call us, we call them. But the good thing at the end of the answer, it says, but we cannot forget that for each bad influence that we receive, and the same level we receive a good influence. Because God's just is so perfect that what he does, he equalizes the influence that we're receiving. So for the same, because we always see this bunch of negative spirits around us, but we forget that we have the good spirits are always around us also. So what he does, he equalizes, so now you're getting both influences around you. So in the end, who's the real person choosing here? It's me. Because it's 50-50. There's no influence that's higher than the other. It's me. So it's my conscious. But why we have this impression that the negative or the less evolved spirits are stronger? It's because the truth is not they are stronger. It's because I'm more prone to have vices. So I am more prone because of my level of evolution, because I still have so many vices inside me, it's way easier for me to connect to them. It's way easier for us to sync to our own vices. So it looks like that they are stronger, but they're not. We give them this power. But the truth is, they're not strong. We have the same influence. And in the end, it's our own conscious that makes the choice of what I want to do or not. So in the end, any choice that we do is ours. We cannot blame on the spiritual plan. And that's called free will, right? That's called free will. So we all have free will, and we also have the free will to choose which side I want to go. So I'm going to give an example from the book Missionaries of Light. So in the book Missionaries of Light, André Luiz is another benefactor, is Alexander, if you guys prefer in English. And they also in a mediumistic group. And in this case, the mediumistic group, and that's on chapter 5 of the book. The mediumistic group just ended. And there's this family living the mediumistic. So it's the mother, the son, and the daughter. And they're living, they just leave the Spiritist center. And André Luiz says that he sees like the mother, the daughter, and so they all have this light in their foreheads because all the energy that they got during the mediumistic group is with them. The problem is that as soon as they get outside, there's 3 less evolved brothers waiting outside. 1 connects to the mother right away, and 2 connects to the son, and all their light is gone. Okay? So those are obsessors that are with them for the longest time. Okay. And as soon as the outside son and mother start to talk about how hard their lives are and how much their sorrows and pains and how, and it gets to the point when you're reading, it's almost like it's a competition to see who's suffering more here. Oh, no, but my pains are bigger than yours. But,
We don't do that.
Oh, no, we don't do that. No, we don't. Yeah, exactly. None of us, right? Oh, because I don't know, because you don't have my age, you've had suffer everything that I, you know, and so right there, everything that had acquired inside the Spiritist is gone. Because as soon as they came outside, they changed the way of thinking. They went back to the negative thoughts. Obsessors are connected again. And so everything that they acquire is gone. Just back to the same thoughts. So the mother says, oh, you know what, I don't know, I'm inside of the Spirit Center, I feel that energy, I feel that good, and when I come out, I really like to keep it, like, but it's so hard to keep that, you know, the same positivity and anything. And then the son goes, oh, I know, but mine is even worse because I have all those thoughts and those tendency to those vices that I didn't want to do it, but I just cannot hold myself. So basically those two spirits that are with him are spirits that he acquired through prostitution. So he's married, so he says, no, I have been married for 8 months now. I have an amazing wife, and if you read the book, she is super amazing actually. And he goes, but I just cannot overcome this desire to these bad tendencies that I have, which in his case is prostitution, right? And he didn't have these obsessors, but how did he call them for him? Actually by going to locations of prostitution. That's how this, so he already had the tendency, so he didn't go to prostitution because those two spirits came and started to say, oh, go there. No, it was the opposite. He started to go into prostitution. And then those spirits are like, oh, this guy vibrates just like us. Let's be here. Let's be friends with him. So when he talks about that, the daughter says, you know what, maybe you could have like a spiritual influence around you, like a less evolved spirit influencing you. And his answer was, I know. And that's exactly why I'm trying to develop a mediumship. Because remember, we're part of a mediumistic group in the Spiritist, because that's exactly why I'm trying to develop my mediumship. Because I think if I become a medium, then I can find what's happening in the spiritual world, and then I can face my enemies, and then I can solve this problem. Right? So he thinks that mediumship, you know, I can face those guys, and then I can solve my problem. Right? So mediumship is going to solve my problem. At this moment, Alexandre uses the daughter or the sister, right, who in the group is the one who's a little bit more tuned to the higher realms of the spiritual world, and he puts his hand on her forehead, and he sends a message. So she doesn't even know, unconscious, she doesn't even know that Alexandre is there, but he puts his hand on her forehead, and unconscious, and uses her to send a message to the brother and to the mother. And what he says is that in cases like, and he says like that, in cases like that, mediumship should be the last resort to solve the problem. Because how can we be mediums and be in contact with our brothers and sisters, less evolved brothers and sisters, if we don't even have the love and the wisdom inside of us for the moment, so in the moment that we meet with them, we can give them the Christian treatment that they actually need to be receiving. Right? What I'm gonna do, so I'm gonna become a medium and say, hey, what are you doing here? Get out, I don't want you. They're gonna say, I'm not gonna go out. You're done calling me, I'm not going anywhere. Like, you're gonna fight with them, argue with them? So what's the point? Like, so just because I'm a medium and I can see what's happening is gonna solve my problem? I'm gonna say, hey buddy, get out? No, they're gonna say, no, I'm not going anywhere. Right? And that's why Alexandre, through the sister, tells them, before considering psychic development, we must try to uplift our ideas and sentiments. We cannot count on good mediumship without the consolidation of our good intentions. What's good intentions? What's our ideas? What's our, it's our thoughts. It's who we are. So unless we do a really good moral education on us, unless we go through the process of looking ourselves and saying, wow, where is my sharing here in this problem? What I am doing in this equation that actually attracting these spirits to me. First, I have even to understand, maybe do a serious study and understand that actually they're not coming after me, I'm actually calling them. Because the moment that I understand that I'm the one calling them, then I have to say, oh, how do I stop calling them? What's the process? Right? Question 467, that's exactly what it is. So how can we disconnect from them? Well, change our thoughts. Vibrate higher. Start to do good things. But there's no good actions coming of people who don't have good thoughts. Right? So, and that's very important. And he's talking about a mediumship. So there's no good mediumship. You cannot become a good medium if you don't have good feelings inside of you. If you don't even understand what's the responsibility of being a medium. If you don't even understand what the mediumistic group actually be used for, right? So it's very important for us to educate ourselves, right? Especially in Spiritist group, because mediumship is part of Spiritism. You see a lot of people, I want to become a medium, I want to become a medium, I want to, you know, but I see very little people saying, I want to educate myself, I want to learn, right? And that's why most of the time now, still to this day, Spiritist centers most of the time is not used a place to better myself, because in the end that's what it is. It's a place where we can come and get this energy and the knowledge to help to do our inner transformation. But we're still mostly using Spiritist Center as a place to do disobsession, to get passes, solve my problems, which, sorry to tell it, no single Spiritist Center will solve your problems. Only you can solve your own problems. What Spiritist Center can do is to give you the base, to give you the strength. Even do some obsession sometimes is needed, but it's obsession without inner transformation doesn't solve the problem, because the next spirit will come, right? So that's what the Spiritist Center should be, a place where we find the knowledge, we find that strength, where it becomes the place where we can repose our minds, so we can recenter ourselves, say, hey, I'm going to try a little bit, you know. So today I'm going to ruminate less negative thoughts for 5 minutes. Great, because yesterday I didn't know even a minute. I'm going to try for 5 minutes. I'm going to try to analyze what kind of thoughts do I have. You know what? I'm actually always ruminating this night. Maybe I should change my thoughts. Because otherwise, no matter if I'm just the common medium that we all are, or from an ostensive medium, we are not going to be connecting with the good. We're going to be always be prone to be connecting with the less evolved spirits. Another example is a book called Volte. It's not translated to English, but I'm Back. And it's from a spirit called, he signed the book as Brother Jacob. And the book, it's a very, very good example of that. So Brother Jacob tells his own story. He's known to the Spiritist, Brazilian Spiritist Federation. And he's a guy who worked for the Brazilian Spiritist Federation for many years, was a director in the Federation. He was highly engaged with the Spiritism. He was participating in mediumistic groups. He was a guy who was really, really involved, like lectures and everything. He was not a bad guy, okay, at all, very involved, but he really thought, because all this work that he did inside of the Spirit Center and helped here and helped there, that would be enough, that when he disconnected, he was 100% sure that the day that he would disconnect, that his disconnection would be super easy, that his spirit would disconnect, because we know that the more evolved we are, the disconnection between the spirit from the body is much easier, that would be easy. And he would tell to all his colleagues and say, you know what, when I disconnect, as soon as I disconnect, I'll come to give you guys a message to say how I am on the other side and how things are going. Because again, the more evolved you are, the faster you get your conscious on the other side, and more ready you are to actually come and give you messages if it's needed, right? So he really thought, he was 100% sure that that's always going to be his disconnection. Moment of a disconnection comes, he has a very, very difficult process to disconnect the spirit from the body. When he's finally disconnected, he has no energy. He can barely, has no energy to stay standing. His daughter, who's a more evolved spirit, the one who comes to receive him, and actually the story in some ways is beautiful because the daughter comes to receive him. He needs the help of her and other evolved spirits to take him to a spiritual area where he actually is going to be needing to recover, so has no energy. He starts to meet with friends, some of them even from the Federation as well, who had disconnected before him. And he would look at them, and those guys had their light around him, and he would look at himself, and he had no light. And he was 100%, and when he disconnected, he would have that same light as the other guys. And he realized that he didn't. And he was not quite understanding what it was. And he said, yes, it is true, you did all this work, and then it's taken into account, because if you really read the book, he doesn't even go to the Umbra or anything. He's brought to a nice area in the spiritual plan, but in a very, very hard way as a person. So, yes, you did all this work, but look at the kind of sentiments you used to carry inside of you, the kind of thoughts. And that's what dictated who you are. That's what dictated who you are in there, that's what dictated who you are in here. So for him was a really big, scary moment, because what happened with him after disconnect was completely different from what he had expected. Because he thought that just because he went to the Spirit Center, just because he did mediumistic groups, just because did all this work for the Federation, that would be enough to put him in a really nice spot, and he didn't. Because when we discarnated, nobody's gonna ask you how many lectures did you do, how many times you went. Did you go every Sunday to the lectures at TSS? They're not gonna ask you that. They're not even gonna ask, are you a Spiritist, Catholic, Muslim, Jewish? They don't even care. They're gonna ask, what did you do? What are you carrying inside of you? What good have you done? Who are you? What kind of thoughts you carry? Because whatever we thought is who we are. So, just developing mediumship, just, being here, reading books, we have this, yes, we do have, this is very important, but it's not enough for us to do inner transformation, for us to come at the end of this reincarnation, better people. We need to work on ourselves. We need to work in inner transformation, and that means changing our thoughts, because when we change our thoughts, we change who we are. Going back to the book, in the realms of mediumship, so the benefactor keeps going with his message through the medium Selena. And he says, to shorten the torment that punished the expiating, incarnate, and discarnate conscience in 1,000 different ways, mental renewal is indispensable. That's the only way to recover harmony. So he's saying that there's 1,000 different ways that we all torture ourselves. Someone because they carry thoughts of jealousy, someone because of envy, pride. Name it. There's 1,000 ways that through our thoughts and who we are, we can torment ourselves. Because remember, whatever I thought, wherever I am, that's what I'm going to carry. Imagine how much pain it must be someone who sometimes carry a whole life a thought of revenge. Or for a whole life, a thought of anger against someone that did something. That's too heavy and that's too much pain. How many spirits in the spiritual plan carry for 100, 200, 300, and name it, like how many years you wanna, sentiments like that, hatred, revenge, completely frozen, and they suffer, because we all suffer. Every time we carry any thought that it's negative, we're the ones gonna suffer it, right? If I'm constantly having thoughts of sadness, hopelessness, I'm putting myself into depression in there. And I'm going to suffer the pain of having depression, because it is painful. It really hurts, right? So it's only with the mental renewal that we're going to change that. Because it's only the moment that say, you know what, just for today or just for 10 minutes, I am not going to ruminate in that thought. I'm going to listen music. I'm going to think about something. I'm going to read like something positive, or I'm going to try to think about something positive that's around myself. Be a bit more grateful for the things that I have. Today, there's a lot of research that say that feeling grateful is one of the things that actually can help people, that can change your mind, that can bring you to a different level, right? Because then we stop being that person that's only focused on something negative and start saying, oh, but for the one negative thing, see, there's actually 10 good things happening around me, because we all do. We all do, has tons of things around us, okay? Just recently I was in Madagascar, and honestly, I have no idea how I'm grateful now for sinks, toilets that flush, because for 2 weeks we had no running water at all. So taking showers with buckets, right? And then it was really fun, because then by the time we went back, we stopped one night in a hotel. It was like $1.50, to be generous, and to me it felt like a 5-star hotel. Right? So if we start to really look around, there's so much things for us to be grateful, right? So that's when we need to start to change our minds, disconnect a little bit more from what's negative, disconnect a little bit from our pain, and change our thoughts, because that's the only way that the pain is going to go away. There's no other way. Right? We really need to disconnect it. So mental renewal, it's important to all of us. It doesn't matter if I'm a medium or not. We all mediums in the end, like we spoke. So we need to do this mental renewal. And the Spirit, the benefactor who's giving the lecture, he talks about, how about religion? He says that religion, if you just have a religion as a label, and no matter which one it is, without using that same religion to do my inner transformation, it's just a label. And honestly, it doesn't matter if we're Christian, non-Christian religion, if I'm Spiritist, Catholic, Buddhist, if I'm Jewish, if I'm Muslim, it doesn't matter. If you look at the essence of all of them, like the true essence, all of them, they all talk about love. With no exception, they all talk about love. They all talk about inner transformation. They all talk about love your next. With no exception. As it couldn't be, because if you really look at the 3 main religions, which is Muslim, Christian, and Jewish, they're all Abrahamic religions. They all come from Abraham. They all have the same root. So they all talk about love. So no matter which religion we have, if you don't use the concepts that it brings to us to better ourselves, to decide to say, you know what, I'm going to change the way I am. I now realize what I'm here for. Then they just become labels. It's not just enough, because again, when we disconnect, nobody's going to ask, what was your religion? Oh, check. Oh, you're Christian? Oh, check. There's no such a thing. It makes no difference in the spiritual plan. Titles makes no difference in the spiritual plan. It's only who we are, and who we are is what we think. It's what we carry in our minds. And then he's specific about Spiritist. He's saying no one is truly worthy of being called Spiritist simply for having been healed of a disease and consequently deciding to accept the intervention of the spiritual world in order in his or her life. Because that's true. A lot of people think that just because I believe that there is a spiritual world and it's in connection with us, and I believe in mediumship and I believe in spiritual healing, that makes me a Spiritist. Or even furthermore, a lot of people think that just because I believe in reincarnation, that makes me a Spiritist. No, it just makes you someone who believes in reincarnation. It just makes you believe that there is a spiritual world and you can interact with it. But that does not make you a Spiritist. Because as per the Gospel according to the Spiritism, by the Spirits through Kardec, a true Spiritist is a Christian. So a true Spiritist is the one that when we're out there, not only here inside the Spiritist center, but out there, act like a Christian. So it's the one who actually is there to help the others, who try your best on a daily life to do something positive every day, to bring something positive to the people around and to ourselves. Right? Because Jesus said, love your neighbor as you love yourself. So we need to love ourselves. If I don't even love myself, what kind of love I have to give to the others? Right? So that's to be a Spiritist. To be a Spiritist, is not to believe in the spiritual world, is not to believe in mediumship, is not to believe in reincarnation. To be a spiritist is to act like a Christian. Because otherwise, again, we only have labels. Oh, I'm a spiritist. We're going to incarnate and say, oh, I'm a spiritist. But I was a spiritist. I believed in you guys. You know, the same story. Here on the requirements list here, you're actually not fulfilling any of them, or maybe fulfilling half of one of the requirements. Actually, if you fulfill half of one of the requirements, actually it's not bad, all right? It's the beginning, right? But that's what it is. And the benefactor says no, and that goes the same for medium. No one is a medium in the real, like in the high sense, the high meaning of a medium, solely because he or she has the instrument of communication between visible and invisible. So just because I reincarnated with the sensibility where I do have the capacity of transmitting messages, either writing or speaking, or because I can hear, yeah, this makes me a medium. Yeah, I'm a medium. Let's be an ostensive medium. But in the high meaning of the word, am I a medium just because I have this capacity? No, I'm not. Because if you read the book, the whole book, The Messengers from Andrea Luiz, this is exactly what it talks about. It's a whole book talking about what are the messages. It's talking about exactly the people reincarnated to become here as a mediums, to be instruments of the gospel. Because that's actually what a good medium is. Is the medium who's here to do charity, is the mediumship to do charity, to spread love, to bring good messages from the benefactors. Someone like Chico, who brought, how many books he brought in that helped to enlighten thousands and millions of people with his books. That is to be a true medium. But why he was able to psychograph so many books? Because Chico was able, through his thoughts and his actions and who he was, to be the piano who was fine-tuned. Right? Then a high spirit could come and say, let me play this piano, and look, the sound's coming out exactly as it should come out. So he was able to vibrate so high that he could get a message from really high spirits and bring this message to all of us. And thank God he did it, because we would be completely lost today. So just having this capacity, yeah, it makes us medium, but not in the high sense, not in the high meaning, not in the real reason why we came here with this capacity, which is become messengers of the gospel in the end. And then the message is coming to the end, and he starts to bring a little bit of his story. So how I do that, right? How I do that? And he says, without studying observation, you're always going to be stagnated. You're going to be in this ignorance. So we study what? That's what we're doing here right now, right? Read the books, study, understand why we're here. What is this incarnated life for? Why it's important for me to change my thoughts? What is the consequence of my negative thoughts? Because when I study, now I'm able to observe myself and the things around me and make changes, right? So now, because with the knowledge that comes from the study, I can have a more rational observation. Now I can even observe myself and say, what's my share here? Oh, now I understand my share. Is the ruminating thought that I have every day, in and out, right? That maybe if I change a little bit, I will disconnect, and I'll become someone who's a little bit better, with better thoughts, better actions, and that's where it's spread around me, right? And this pure and active thoughts is the force that drives us from hatred to love, from pain to joy, from earth to heaven. And earth to heaven, you can see as a more materialistic life to a more spiritual life, right? So it's only that. So it's only by bearing our thoughts, and nobody needs to end this incarnation. We have like only pure thoughts, and we're not gonna get there, right? But a little bit. Be conscious of how we're thinking all the time. Do I have more positive thoughts, or do I have more negative thoughts? How can I change my negative thoughts? Study and observation. Learn who we are, and get the little change every day. Like I said, if I can not ruminate negative thoughts for 5 minutes every day, it's good. Maybe next week I'll be able to do half an hour, and that's how it goes. So at the very end, what he says to all of them is, my friends, brothers and sisters, praying that Jesus continues to sustain all of us. And that's exactly what I hope for all of us today and in this big journey, eternal journey that we all are here right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. So now it's time for questions, comments, if someone has any, or from the Facebook as well. What?
I have a comment.
Yes, please.
I used to, when you said about us, we call the spirit, the good or the bad spirits, I used to use the analogy we are like a radios, and they are the stations. You choose which station you can tune in, right? This for me is the perfect analogy, because if you are good mood, you are choose the good music, happy music for you. If you are in a bad mood, you choose the another type of music, right? And this is what I see I bring some bad thoughts inside of me, and when I'm able to bring good thoughts inside of me, because our mood, it's only because of us.
So true. I think that's an absolutely perfect analogy of the radio, right? We choose which station we can. And you're right.
Yeah.
And depending on the state that I am, I'll put like some classical music, or depending on the I am, I'll put like some heavy rock, or if I'm really sad, I'll put those songs that make me even more sad, because I just want to be, suffering. That's exactly what it is. We choose the station. It's a perfect analogy. Yeah.
I'll just make an added comment. I love that too. But there is a little twist on that, because we are also stations.
Yeah.
We send also.
Because what we think, as you said, influence everybody else. So it's like a cell phone. You receive and you send, right?
Yeah.
That's the same.
So that's the responsibility for us.
Yes.
What are we sending?
Mm-hmm.
To your point about Facebook, right? What are we posting?
Mhm.
Simple things,
Absolutely.
right? When we're talking with someone on the phone, what am I saying? Or face to face, or just thinking, right?
Actually, there's so many key points that the Spirit brings. It's like, if you want to just read this message on chapter 13 of the realms. But one of the things he says that we think, then our thought is going to create our actions. Our actions will create thoughts on the other people around us, incarnate or discarnate, and then their thoughts is going to create the actions on them as well. So it is really a circle, right? Whereas true, we all like stations at the same time, the radio, right, all the time, right? Because we always think about the influence between the discarnated on us, but we have to remember we are inspiring and we are influencing people around us all the time, incarnated or discarnated. We are influencing all the time for sure, and getting the influence. Right? So we can choose what kind of a radio we want to be and what kind of a station we want to be. Don't worry, it's just a little bit of responsibility, small one. No pressure. No pressure at all. That's the most important thing, no pressure. And in the end, there's no pressure really, because that's why we're mortal spirits. Nobody's expecting that by the end here, that super station, fantastic tune, just a little bit better. And then the next one you do a little bit more. So there's no, because imagine before Spiritism, we thought we had to make it right in one. That's pressure. I think that's a lot of pressure. Now it's like, oh, okay. That also doesn't mean like, oh, I have plenty of time. I'm, just not sit back.
You need to find the
So
balance.
we need to find the balance in there, right? So we cannot punish ourselves, because then we go in sentiments of guilt, which then again keep ruminating that it's not good. Because, I need to be better, I should be better. So we need to accept who we are, make those changes, but make those changes, right? So it's slowly.
All right, so thanks again, Teresa. It was a very, very good presentation. So right now, we also want to thank our friends that is following us through the Facebook. And now we're gonna move on for the passage. So it's a time for us to keep our positive vibration and our connection to God, and in a quiet environment, in order to optimize our ability to receive all the good energies coming from our guided spirits. Thanks everyone, and we're gonna move to the